Now on BBC World News, Mariko looks at attempts to tackle Japan's long working hours, including drones that encourage people to leave the office on time. Worklife Japan.
It's 10 p.m. in the business district of Tokyo, and many of these office buildings still have their lights on. That's because employees are still at work. This is Japan Inc., where for decades it's been supported by the army of office workers.
There's an unspoken understanding in the workplace here that putting in long hours is a sign of loyalty and commitment to the company. Workers often do it without extra pay or time off in return. In some extreme cases, employees work themselves to death. But there's now an increasing pressure on the government and companies to change.
That's because Japan's population is aging and shrinking fast. By 2060, its workforce will be almost half from its peak. The government thinks the workplace reform is a way to solve Japan's economy. But are they enough? It's the start of yet another grinding day for the foot soldiers of corporate Japan, most commuting to work on packed peak-hour trains. It's a work culture where the emphasis has long been on conformity, not individualism. They're expected to follow rules without complaining in a stressful work environment. Many of these people will be making the return journey way past their office hours. And that's now seen as a problem. A drone on patrol in the office. It's monitoring the workers, but not for their daily performances. The drone is being used to encourage them to go home.
Wow, it's quite loud. これ結構うるさいですね。
はい、このうるささが逆に早く帰らせることにもつながります。
So he says the noise is probably enough to send most people home.
もともと日本は、サービス残業っていうのが非常に多かったんですけども、うちの会社もそうなんですけど、例えば総務の人間とか人事の人間が、今日早く帰ってくださいっていうやっぱりいろんな意味で会社を回ってアナウンスはするんですけども、実際それを言う人間も残業で残ってますし、ドローンが飛ぶとカメラがついてますので、誰が残ってるかということもやはりリアルタイムで分かってしまう。
But it's not easy to change decades-old practice, and it's resulting in a uniquely Japanese epidemic called karoshi, which literally means death from overwork. For some, the stress gets too much. These were tweets of 24-year-old Matsuri Takahashi. Five days after that tweet, she jumped to her death. She had only been at advertising firm Dentsu for 8 months, which she joined immediately after graduating from university.
会社の労働状況のことをとても苦にしていたのを知ってたので、そのことが原因で追い込まれて亡くなってしまったんだということを確信しました。
Yukimi remembers her daughter wanting to take action against the company one day.
毎日12時半まで会社に残って仕事をすることが、時には朝4時5時まで会社にいて、一度自宅に帰ってシャワーを浴びてまた9時に出社する。時には自宅に帰らないでそのまま会社に朝まで残り 続けて仕事をし、1日2日3日目というようなこともありました。
Matsuri's mother has been campaigning to prevent the repeat of her daughter's tragedy. Each year, around 2,000 claims for government compensation are filed by victims' families. Nearly a quarter of Japanese companies have employees working more than 80 hours overtime a month, and 12% have employees breaking the 100 hours mark. From heart attacks to strokes to depression, karoshi cases have been reported for decades. But Matsuri's tweets left clear evidence, forcing companies to address the issue.
There was a tendency for the company to put more emphasis on company's profit rather than individual life or families. But this, incident of suicide and death, I think gave opportunity for large company to pay attention to. And because of the reputation risk, I think listed company or large company, they try to, not to have such kind of tragedy again.
Over the last few years, there have been many innovations related to employees' health. This one analyzes how focused people are.
So these glasses monitor the movement of my eyeballs as well as how often I'm blinking and how I'm moving my head. And by analyzing all the data, it tells you how focused I am at this moment.
The aim is to help employees realize when they need to take a break.
今の働き方改革っていうのはどうしても結果残業削減の話に終始している印象があって、量だけの話ではなくこの1時間あたりの質の話ができるので、これが初めて改革ではないかというのが僕らの思いで。
After years of deliberation, the Japanese government has recently passed a new law, the Work Style Reform Bill, in order to protect employees.
It set a legal cap of 100 hours per month on overtime work, ensures equal pay for equal work for regular and non-regular workers, but exempts skilled professionals with high wages from working hour regulations.
But critics say it doesn't go far enough to tackle the fundamental issues. They say 100 hours of monthly overtime is still too much, and that the bill doesn't address the amount of work employees have to do. They want harsher penalties for companies and managers who violate the law.
Matsuri's employer, Dentsu, was fined less than $5,000 for causing her karoshi, and none of her managers were persecuted.
で経済界のトップは日本の経済成長は今までのイケイケのやり方で発展してきた。労働時間を短くすることは経済の衰退につながると、企業の倒産につながる。そんなことはまずありえないと思っている。人の意識というものが変わらないと改革に向けては前に進んでいかないと思います。
But changes are happening, although slowly. It's Yoshihisa Aono's night to cook and look after his 3 children. He's also the founder of multi-million-dollar IT company Cyborzu. In a country where women are still seen as homemakers, he became famous after daring to take paternity leave.
私はもう古い考え方で、仕事大好きで、もう職場で死ねるのが嬉しいぐらいのね訪問みたいな、こういう考え方の持ち主でした。1度目に育児休暇を取った時に気づいたことがありまして、でそれはその育児というのは商売より大事なんだっていうことに気づいたんですね。でこれなぜかというと、もし商売をするけど育児をしない社会になったら、育児しないわけですから、次の労働力がそこに生まれてこないわけですね。そうするともう会社もやっていけない。しかもこの子どもたちは将来市場になっていくわけですね。もう今度消費者になって働いて消費者になって物を買ってくれるわけですよね。この優先順位がこう間違ってたことに気づきましたね。
おはようございます。おはようございます。
Saibozu is unconventional here. Aono is chairing a meeting with his executive, Katsuhiko Matsumura, who's worked for the company for over a decade. But he's now working on his second job, and this is encouraged.
昭和型の人間なんで、一社に定年までいるってね、やっぱり社長からそういうふうに言われるっていうことはそれなりに、重く捉えて、じゃあもう自分はクビなのかなと。
Aono has allowed his staff to choose the way they want to work because he needed to retain staff.
サイボーズは2005年離職率が 28% もあったんですね。で、4人に1人が辞めていくような状況でした。離職率はもうみるみる下がっていきまして、今6年間続けて 5% を下回っています。
Retaining workers is crucial not just for companies but also for the overall economy because fewer people are entering the workforce. In 1995, there were nearly 90 million people aged between 15 and 64. Today, that's fallen to just over 75 million.
Well, the guy on the screen works remotely from Niigata, which is over 300 kilometers away from Tokyo. Saibozu has been a pioneer in allowing flexible working, so not just having a second job or working remotely, but it even offers young staff 6 years to take a break, and you can even go and work for a competitor.
The government has also chipped in with its own idea, Premium Friday. It's the last Friday of the month and workers are encouraged to leave the office early. This department store has arranged a mystery quiz event to lure more shoppers.
このプレミアムフライデーはあくまでも消費を喚起していこうじゃないかということで、始めたものでございます。良いものを適正な価格でお客様に、お買い求めいただいて、そのサービスや商品を楽しんでいただく、そういったことができないかということでプレミアムな商品、プレミアムなサービスをですね提供していただいて、そしてプレミアムな気持ち、そういったものを楽しんでいただこうということでプレミアムフライデー。はい。
But Saibozu has published a video making fun of the government's initiative. It asks, if the actual amount of work doesn't change, what's the point of encouraging staff to leave the office at 3 p.m?
でも実際問題別に仕事の量が減ったってわけじゃないじゃないですか。
そうですよね。
なんで現実は、3時になったらきっちり会社を出ます。はい。で PC 立ち上げたまんますぐそこのカフェに行くみたいな。
プレミアムフライデーっていう言葉をですね、ぜひプレミアムエブリデイにしていただいて、ね、働く一人一人のね毎日が充実したものであるようにと。
When the economy was strong, no one questioned the way people worked. But faced with slowing growth, this is a turning point for Japan's economy.
This is Worklife India.
I'm the first woman in my family to be a working woman.
We discuss work, life, and everything in between.
Who is Facebook sharing my data with?
We look at all things to do with money, the work we do, and the lives we lead.
When I quit this job and I started this, it wasn't all hunky-dory.
We tackle the questions needing answers.
Problem now is that fake news kills.
Worklife India.
Join the conversation here on BBC World News.
At Business Live, news isn't just for business people.
Whether it's in Europe, Asia or the US, when a story breaks, we break it down.
We'll help you understand what it means for you, and we want your thoughts on the day's big questions.
We talk to the key players, the newsmakers and the top bosses about their successes and failures in a fast-changing business world.
Business Live, what you need to know, when you need to know it, on BBC World News.
In the southern island of Kyushu, Kumamoto was home to the once powerful samurai clan, the Hosokawa. They were known for their sword making, a craft that has survived for centuries, but it's a skill that's fast disappearing. There are different stages in this delicate process, from forging of the blade to polishing it. The final phase, making of the handle and sheath, all done by hand. Hans Koga is from Sweden. He moved to Japan in 2012 to learn the craft from his master, using the traditional methods and tools handed down for generations. Today, he's been asked to restore this centuries-old sword, a task entrusted to only a few.
For centuries, the ancient art of sword craftsmanship has been done by the Japanese. But as their number has dwindled, the industry has started to embrace a foreigner. The question is, will the rest of Japan follow suit?
A handful of companies have.
So they managed to do it if they put like a very long component. So
You may not realize, but this is a rare sight in Japan. A group of mostly foreign engineers having their daily meeting in English.
If you want to have ad-free music or ad-free videos.
E-commerce giant Rakuten is one of a few firms which adopted English as its office language not too long ago. The company called it Englishnization. It needed to tap overseas talent because it couldn't find enough English-speaking engineers at home.
I was aware that Rakuten has Englishnization project, so in work I have to speak English. So that was one comfort I already had, that okay, I don't have to speak Japanese at work.
Englishnization for Rakuten is a major driver to recruit and retain the talents. Right now, we have 2,300 engineers in Japan. Over half of them are foreign tech talents. Recently, 70% of new hires are non-Japanese.
8 years on, the transition is still ongoing.
Guess what this room is? It looks a little bit like a confession room, doesn't it? But this is where staff of Rakuten can come to study English or any other languages during the office hours.
As we always say,
The final practice session at the annual Dragon Boat race in Tokyo.
3, 4, 5.
And Rakuten is one of a few companies in the race with international participants. That's because, unlike Rakuten, the Japanese workplace is still very much homogeneous. From April, the government will allow more foreign workers in selected sectors. But there was strong resistance, not just from lawmakers, but also the public. So the government had to phrase it as a temporary solution, not as an official immigration policy.
Surprisingly, in this global environment, a lot of Japanese people still feel a bit uncomfortable in terms of accepting foreign people and foreign workers on a permanent basis. The Japanese government increasingly try to issue visa and accept more workers. But eventually, the government really have to think about how to utilize those talent on a full-time basis and accepting their families, and on a permanent basis. Just accept them as a Japanese. First two lectures.
Professor Sayuri Shirai teaches international finance at Keio University. She thinks while accepting foreigners is crucial, there are other untapped talent in the Japanese economy. Women. But she says that the society's expectations on roles of women and men need to change.
We have to change people thinking about female workers. The women really still have to take the balance between works and then life. Women are still the major person who take care of children and houseworks. So in order to improve the female workers' productivity, we cannot really demand many working hours. Now, if the woman will start to work on a full-time basis, then men also have to share the housework. But that kind of mentality is still lacking.
And I only have to look at my family to understand why. My mother, like her mum, was a stay-at-home mum, and that's been the norm for generations of women here. But now, unlike in my father's time, men can no longer support the whole family on a single income because real wages have not increased. There's pressure on women to join the workforce, but this is a new trend, and I'm still the odd one out at family gatherings like this. Prime Minister Abe has made his Womenomics, a policy to encourage more women to work, one of the priorities. He wants companies to be more accommodating to working mothers and to see more leadership positions to be filled by women. And things are slowly changing. Between 2005 and 2009, only 40% of women went back to work after having their first child. In the following 5 years, though, that's gone up by 10%, partly due to the economic needs. But with an increase in the number of working mothers, Japan now faces a chronic lack of childcare facilities. Some companies like Chatup's firm Line have taken the initiative to attract and to keep their female employees. Women like 38-year-old Chiharu Sugiyama. She has been with Line for over 5 years and she didn't want to give up her career when she gave birth to her son, Rikyu, 2 years ago. And the only reason she was able to return to work was because the company has set up an on-site nursery. Line has a reputation of being friendly to working mothers, and as a result, 40% of its employees are women. Line's nursery operates from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m., way past office hours, and it's heavily subsidized by the company. This arrangement allows Sugiyama to spend time with Rikyu during lunch breaks.
結構早く復帰したので生後6ヶ月だったのでまだ授乳のタイミングだったんですね。なので授乳をしに1日のうちに何回かこちらに訪れて、元気かなという健康の伺いもしつつおっぱいをあげることもしています。
Having childcare at work seems like a perfect solution, doesn't it? You might be thinking, though, that this isn't that unusual. But actually, here in Japan, Line is one of a very few companies that offers it.
It's the end of another workday, and Sugiyama chooses to pick up her son at 7 p.m. Like most office workers here, she used to work very long hours, often till midnight. But since her childbirth, the company has allowed her to move to more flexible hours. Women still face challenges, and many have to choose between having a career or having children in a business environment that's still very male-dominated.
Honourable delegates, please come to order.
Japan's population is facing a sharp decline.
Yes, present.
To make up for the shrinking workforce, it must find ways to remain competitive.
Those who are in favour of this motion, please raise your placard.
Here in Ibaragi, selected students participate in a local government program.
Those against?
I watch as they role-play the delegates at the United Nations.
Honourable delegates, us Australian...
The session is conducted in English and the students learn the art of international negotiation. I wonder what kind of corporate Japan awaits them. Will changes across offices bring about more work-life balance and break the mold of old business habits?
でこれだけ生き方も多様になってきている中で一律的にすることがむしろその一人一人の幸福度を下げてそれがさらには生産性を下げることにもつながっていると。
Will women find their place in the corporate world? And will Japan finally open its door and accept more foreign workers?
The source of innovation is really the talent and diversified workforce. Unless otherwise, any business institutions accommodate the diversified working environment, no one can be successful.
For decades, Japan wrote the formula for success. But with a shrinking workforce and more global competition, Japan needs to look outside and adapt in order to secure its position as one of the biggest economies in the world.